Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's stream. We had a few technical problems last night. I think that's because I had Zoom on from a previous client. I think it just interacted with the audio drivers. So every night in January, I'm going to be here to answer your Q&As. I'm going to try and teach you some production and mixing skills. You can ask me anything. One of the things I teach is a mindset and how to think, as opposed to just how something works, like a compressor or saturation, because you've got to understand, the fundamentals first of all, what they do, the side effects, and how they affect everything else in the mix. And that's why I do the one-to-one mentorship. It's a 10-week course, and we start off by doing your roadmap. And most people who start the mentorship can already finish tracks, but they're just not getting them signed. They're not sounding as good as the references, and we go in, and generally people have learned from YouTube and videos and a course here and a course there. We take them back to the beginning, to the fundamentals, and we just teach you as fast as we can, also working in your project so you're finishing tracks at the same time. So please DM me if that's something you could be interested in. Please like, subscribe, share this video. It's going to really, really help me. Numbers are growing, and I might carry on if it goes really well. I know a few people have really kind of liked what we've done so far, and there's been a few people joining us. We just need to get a few people. You can ask me anything. There's that many young producers out there. We just need to get them to know about what's going on. Okay. Hi, everyone. Who's here? Hi, Aaron. How are you doing tonight? Any questions for me? No. Okay, well, Aaron sent us his track. I'm probably going to mix down tomorrow night. I'm just waiting for him to send me back a signed document to get permission to use his record. And yeah, so okay. Tonight we will, in Ableton, start looking at kind of lo-fi drums. Now, when people say, how do I get something lo-fi or something old school? A lot of people think that you can go to a plugin and do it. But really, you want to be getting the source, your recording or your sample to be, old school feeling, a bit more lo-fi. So, a lot of the old house, even though you had the 909 and the 808, a lot of the drums were sampled. So that came from vinyl, recorded through a needle. So I've got my decks there. Through a needle into the decks, from the decks into a sampler, where it was generally recorded in too fast because of the memory we could record to, and then slowed down in the sampler, stretching it. When it goes into the sampler, it's got these filters that create a bit of aliasing. And when you time stretch it, it makes it sound different again. And that's where all these effects come from. And then out of there, it was generally 12-bit a lot of the time. So that was how they got it. Recreating it is from clean samples is pretty much impossible. But I am going to show you a few ideas to help you get that tonight. There is quite a few plugins that I use. And we'll just talk about that quite a bit tonight, because I think it's really important for people to understand that, that music that you're trying to get that old school sound from, is coming from sampled records or samples. So if you're making that kind of music, like I've just started doing a little folder here. Where is it? Heard his lo-fi pack, right? So what I've done there, I've got the vinyl of these records, just recorded a few beats, pulled it into Ableton and just sampled it and just chopped it out and then made my own sample out of it. That's because they are 12-bit and they are from a sampler, and they sound great. And all I'm doing is going through vinyl, getting all my old vinyl, digging through it, and recording in, because that's how they made it back in the day. I have got the S2400, as though you don't know, and I might record something into there, and then get all that crunchy aliasing. So yes, that's the best way to do it. Sample. That's all they did back in the day. They just sampled tracks and chopped them up and put them in a lot of the time, besides your 909 type stuff. Hey Adrian. Hey Ibiza Stream. Ibiza Stream. You have to remind me your name. So, okay, lo-fi drums, what we're talking about. Everything you do should always come from the best quality sample. When you say quality, you know, when you say quality, I mean a quality lo-fi sample. So, I've got loads of stuff. I've got loads of drums that I've sampled off old vinyl that have still got that feeling. I've got kicks and I've got drums. And they're the first choice that I'll go to. Sometimes I don't want everything in the drums to be lo-fi. I might want the kick to be a bit more present in the mix, and I don't want the grittiness. Sometimes I want it to be a bit cleaner. I don't stick to any one way of thinking. Like, oh, it's got to be all lo-fi, or I do what's best for the mix. I still want punching dynamics, and if most of my drums, my snares and my claps and my main hat have got that lo-fi-ness to it, then that's the best way to start your track. Okay, so what plugins can we use? Well, first of all, you know, a lot of the tracks back in the day, they were sampled, but they have really good swing and groove. So when you're making house, it's always nice to get a nice groove going on. So let's see what we've got here. Okay, so I've got some hats, just a basic loop. So the first thing I know about that, it sounds a bit too clean. You know, maybe I'm going for something, let's say, low steppery Dennis Quinn. So the first thing I'm going to do is get some references. Because I want that crunch. Okay, I'll get a few records, get some ideas, get a feeling, because my ears might think it sounds old school and it probably doesn't. Dennis, I'll spell Dennis Quinn. Okay. Okay, so what I'll do is listen to a few drums at the beginning. So straight away, the first thing that I'm hearing is like a distorted kick. Okay, let's get a proper old school record. disappeared off my hard drive. That's weird. Just see if this one. Okay, so I'm liking the low stepper drums. Treat you right. So you can see it's a bit distorted, it's a bit old school. Sorry, there's something going on here. Okay, is that better? Okay, so I'm going to go for some old school drums. So the first thing is sample choice. Right, let's see what I've got. So I'm thinking straight away the vibe isn't right on the kick. So distortion, I can distort the kick. So we could try and distort it yourselves, but you know, I always find that it's better just to kind of yeah, I think it's going to be better to get a sample that does the trick properly. So I'll go to my sample pack and House Drums Raw. Quite like that one. So straight away, we've just found a sample from a sample pack that works better. Remember, with these, you've got to watch the beginning of them. So I've got the kick. The first thing of the clap is that here is pretty much the same, but I could do numerous things to the clap. And then maybe add a bit of distortion to that. I'm just going to try Decapitator because it is a good one for this kind of stuff. That sounds a bit better. Adding distortion, just taking away that cleanliness from the clap is a good idea. Now, I think there are better claps. I think there's definitely sounds. I would definitely go to your sample first of all, you know. So I've got this snare. These are the things that are just jumping out at me that don't seem to fit with that rawness of the track. So then I get the snare. I'll go to that sample pack actually that I'm just starting to record. Find that one. straight away, we're more in the ballpark. So I'm going to take a look at everything individually first. Now that does sound a bit slushy. So for that, evening terror, I'd probably go for something like a decimo, a D16. The really good thing about this is we can just introduce it in, so there's a bit of dirt in there. I've still got not taking too much of the top end out of it. So yeah, I really like what that's doing. It's giving a bit more body as well, like them old school kind of tracks used to have. Everything wasn't clean. They didn't low cut everything, and it was just recorded in a lot of the time, or sampled, or tuned down, or going through a desk that distorted it. All that kind of interference. But I really like decimo on my drums. Okay, so then I'll be looking for like a 16s. That just sounds a little bit obvious. So that does sound quite dirty, but I'm going to try a different one just to see. I really like that sound. It is a Linn drum. It is a sample from an old school drum machine, but it reminds me, it makes me feel the old schoolness. Okay, so what I might do here is I might create another snare pattern. So get a different snare, a different tone, a different quality. Go back to that sample pack actually. See if there was another snare in there. Okay. now I've got all that in, now I'll look at a groove. So it's all sounding a little bit old school. Now, if I was doing a record for a certain kind of labels, I might go for some kind of loop in there now, just to make it a bit slushy. But because I've got all my groove elements in there, I'm going to try and make like a just a housey kind of groove. So I'm going to get all the MIDI in here, and I'm going to change it back to normal 16s. And then out of the groove pool, I'm going to find a groove that I really like. So MPC 64 might be a bit slow, a bit too garagey. Yeah, I really like that swing SP 1258. Let's try something a bit more garagey. It's not really the feeling that I'm looking for. Then you've got your Logic. That's still a bit too straight. I really like the SP 1200 for me personally. If it's going garagey, obviously it'd be different drums. It'd be quite a bit smaller, quite a bit wider. Sorry, the swing. Okay, so we've got everything in there now. What plugins could I use for making them drums sound a little bit more saturated and distortion? Adrian's asked, hi Jason, did you notice a big difference in terms of tone on Decimo against your S2400? Yes, there's something about it. The filters, just the quality of the sounds that come out of it, even though sometimes they're taken from the computer, I A/B'd it, and I will do an A/B. They just sounded just a bit more lusher and a bit together, especially that, you know, if they all go through the same output on the S2400, I find that it's just something I can't get in plugins. But we're going to look at that and hopefully see that we can. So we've got these. Then we might work on them later on. So the kick I like, so I'm not going to work on it. So what can I put on these drums? What plugins can I put on? They already sound quite lo-fi, but some of my favourite plugins are like, this one's quite good. So this is supposed to be like emulating the S1200, the SP1200 and the Akai 950 with the effects. So it's supposed to be emulating the the effect you get by when you record it in fast and you slowed it down and you're pushing it, and it's also 12-bit. So you've also got a mix which is also good about this. Let's have a listen to this. So you can see it's giving it that old school kind of bit crush sound, but it's taken away from the top end. So like anything, A/B it. I'm missing the top end. Okay, so let's try this. But I really like what it's doing to them. It's that kind of aliasing sound. So maybe a bit slower. Let's try. It's got a mix knob here, so let's just mix it. So you can see what it's doing is it's creating that sound. But for modern music, I want to get that, but I still want the top end in it. So what I might do is put that on the send. So what I might do is this: create a group, and then in that, so I have it 100%. Find the sound that I want. That's what I'm after. Get an EQ. An EQ before it to get the sound that you want. Oh, I love that. That's really nice. Now, what I'll do here with the group, I'll create a chain. Call this one dry. And then this one is wet. So that's got the SP and the EQ in it. Okay? Oh, no. See what it's done? It's like added. Oh, sorry. Higher the volume on mic. It's a tiny bit low. 1, 2. Okay, yeah, no problem. Of course not. Sorry about that. Is that better? Listen, please tell me if anything needs doing. Let me know. And if you've got anything you want to add to the chat, just let me know and I'll bring it up. Okay, so don't just listen to the high end. What I need you to listen to this is listen to the mid-range of it, the crunch of the clap and the width when it's on and off. Okay, so this is on. Like, wow, it sounds old school. That one plug-in there wasn't right on its own. And what I'm asking myself is, what am I trying to achieve? Well, I'm just trying to give the drums a bit more grit, a bit of that aliasing, but I still want it to sound okay in a modern set. So what this plug-in does is just, it's possibly my favorite for doing this. And it has taken a bit of brightness off certain things, but it still feels like it's got the body of lots of other things. Let's A-B it to another track. Their drums are a lot thinner. It's probably a bad example, but that's what I really like. I really like how it sounds a bit more. It does sound like an old record. And then again, the kick might not be right, so we can go back to the kick. The kick doesn't have to be lo-fi. If we just go back to house kicks, just put a normal kick in. really want the kick to come through, so I'm going to go back to the other kick. I really like how the frequencies of that are coming through. Oh, sorry. Okay. Is that better, Aaron? Well, that's weird. Is it just the drums are distorted? All right, so it's... Oh yeah, right. It's because I never had headphones on. I've got the audio going into my microphone and into there. That's the problem. Better off in headphones. Okay, so are you liking that plugin, everybody? Same drums, one plugin, and it just changes the whole game of the feeling of the track. And this is the thing, a lot of people come to me with tracks and they've kind of got it, it sounds like the kind of track they want, but it's not got the feeling, and that's down to sample choices. And sometimes, you know, when people try to do more housey stuff or more lo-fi stuff, they're using the wrong samples. It's a bit too clean. So that's the first plugin that I would use for making things sound a little bit more old school. Now, what else is there? Favorite effects, distortion. Okay, there's this. So this is, I think it might be free. I don't know what it is. This is to emulate the converters of the old Akai 950. I think. Yeah, it is. So let's have a listen. Can you hear the difference there? Really good, actually. If you listen to it. Can you hear these plugins? Like these plugins, when you're adding them, they're just like kind of crunching up the mid-range really well. And again, with this one, I'll probably do the same thing. Go into a group, EQ it, get the best out of it that I'm looking for. So I might just want a bit of that. Level match. And that's just adding a bit of grit, you know, in the drums. And it's not quite as full on as the other one there, but when we had it on its own, it could be quite nice. And sometimes I do use this on its own. Remember, always level match. Great thing to automate as well. So yeah, so that's another great plugin. Again, it's an emulation of old school circuitry, which is what we're looking for. And I think that just adds a really nice grit to it. Decimote we've looked at, that's got loads of different settings on there that I think are really, really good for this kind of thing. The towel stuff's really good. Okay, this is quite a good one, RC Colour. So let's have a listen to this. So this is a plugin that I use on loads of stuff. It's just got a few different things that we can use at the same time, easy to go to. So I don't like the noise. So obviously, what I do with it, whenever I'm using something, I go to the extreme so I can really hear what that plugin does, and then I really, really go back to it. So this is the wobble, like a wobble off a tape. Hear the pitch changing slightly. That's really good. And then distortion. And again, it's got all different types of distortion that we can use. I quite like that tube. Digital distortion. It's got a reverb here that I really like actually. I wouldn't use it on this, but that's quite nice, that. And then magnetic, which is like tape again. So just push, see what they're doing first of all. Figure out what it's doing to it and decide whether you want that, and then just put in the amount that you're looking for. That's okay. Doing something. So magnitude is like the mix. So let's listen to it in the mix. Let's do it on and off. So it's definitely louder. So I'm going to level match. Taking out a bit too much of the top end. So what I might do is just take the mix down. Again, it's taken out quite a bit of the top end. Again, it's affecting the mid-range really nice. I really like what that's doing. This is a great plugin. So let's just start with a kick. See, it sounds great. It sounds great there. Have I got a bass here? Let's... Again, you might want to put this into a group so you've got a bit more of the top end, but you know, that's the thing. That's what it was like in them days. You didn't have all that brilliance up the top end and hi-fi-ness, and that's why it's called lo-fi. So these plugins generally do take away a bit of the top end, but it's like with any plugin that I'm using, the key to using the plugin is like, what is it doing? Right, it's adding distortion, right? Okay, what are the side effects? The side effects are, okay, what's it doing to it first of all? It's not really doing much to mid-range because there's not a lot in there, but it's adding some distortion and sounds like bit crushing, maybe aliasing, from about 500 up to about 4K, something like that, maybe a bit more, right? And it's taking out the top end. It's like it's filtering it down a little bit. So okay, so do I like that? Well, I like what it's doing to the 1200 to 2K mark. You know, it's really crunchy. It's really nice, but I don't like what it's doing to the top end. Okay, so what can I do about that? Right. Well, I can, you know, put it on a parallel in a group in a chain and EQ it and just introduce the bit that I like. That's it. You know, and then you might keep the brightness that you want. It's always about what you're trying to achieve with any plugin and anything. And yeah, I think that's a really good plugin. So it's between the SP950 and the RC20 for me up to now. So we've got those. Any questions so far? Okay, let's have a look, see what else we've got here. The other thing you can put on stuff, I mean, you have got distortion and saturation, but I don't think they give the same feeling. I think it's the aliasing and the crunch of old school house drums that lo-fi that give you that lo-fi feeling. That's what I kind of feel. And like I said, it's how they've sampled it from the vinyl to in there that kind of gives that. And for me, a little bit of this sometimes, or most times in a house track, really, really works. Even in the clean stuff, because it kind of just adds that bit, it takes away the cleanliness of the track and just kind of muddies it up a little bit with something that kind of just joins it together, isn't too old school, but doesn't feel like it's too clinical. Okay, so we've already tested the SP950, which is this one. Let's have a listen to that. Like, listen to what it's doing to the snare. What's it doing to the clap and what's it doing to the hats, right? I like what that's really doing to the clap. Listen to the clap. I quite like what it's doing to the top end, but not. I think let's listen to the 950. I really like what that's doing as well. That's nice as well. In fact, actually, that's the RC20 is now my least favourite. But it's about the flavour that you're looking for, and what I will always do, I will always try a few, like all these plugins right now, to try and get that vibe. And one might sound better on one thing, one might sound good on another. And you've just got to play around with them and see what they do. Drums to be like, okay, so let's just choose one. Let's choose the SP900. How's it? I think I prefer that one, but there. Okay, so we've got them together now. And I've got lots of distortion things like trash, little radiator will add a lot of things that will add harmonics as a whole, but I don't think we need them to work on this. What I might try on the end of this, on the drums, all together. So in there, now I've got the kick. That was only working on the percussion. Now I've got the kick and the drums. Okay, let's have a listen to this. And I might try some tape. Now, the thing about tape is, it gives you a bit of a bump around 60 hertz, depending on what you're using. So I'm going to try a few different tapes. So I'm going to try Slate first of all, because I really like this, but anyone who's seen it knows it adds a bump, adds a volume boost. So you can't really tell what it's doing. Because if you make something louder, it always sounds better. Okay, let's get a utility in there. I don't like how it's bringing the clapping, but I do like it. Oh, that's because it's fucking mono. I'm an idiot. It's because I'm wearing headphones. I really like what it's adding there to the kick. Now I am listening on headphones, so I can't really hear the bottom end. I would be looking like what's it doing to the bottom of the frequencies, the mid to high frequencies. I like how it brings the clap forward and it just kind of joins the clap to the hats around that range of 2 to 6K a little bit more. I really like what it does. And it's giving it a bit of a boost in the bottom end. Sometimes it works that one, sometimes it doesn't. So tape. What tape machines do you have, guys? What do you use? Let's try Studer. So I'm not going to teach you. I might do a tutorial on this one night. Do people do you use that? Yeah, I might do a full tutorial on this. We're mixing down Aaron's track tomorrow, So mix down, guys, and then I'll do a tutorial on this if you don't know. Yeah, Saturn 2 and Ozone Exciter, Adrian, they're more saturators, but tape's got a different feeling. You see, it does saturate, but it's the compression you get from it. Just amazing what it does. So tape does something really different. I would always have a good tape machine for things. I mean, the drums. Do you remember what I was telling you yesterday about sample choice and earlier on? The drums don't need any saturation on them. They might something to bring them all together because they're all separate samples maybe, but they've got the saturation in each of them. You know, and I always wait till the end. And to be honest with you, I'm putting the tape on now and maybe a bit of saturation in isolation, but I probably wouldn't do all this until I've got all the rest of the music in, because every time, you know, we're adding in harmonics into the track, and we don't necessarily want to, you know, have stuff that might be warm but taken away from the transients and things. So I always add it at the end. So this is a studio on UAD. They're brilliant. So let's just listen to them and just tell me what you think you can hear. So I really want to push these. You can hear it's going just a little less lo-fi, a little bit more lo-fi as you go down. Yeah, I quite like the lo-fi. I like the top end with a 15. I like the kick with a 30, but I can add that in another way. So let's try these. Let's try 250. Actually, that's really good. It's really taking the top end out of the 900. But let's just try this. Wow, I love what it's doing. Listen to it, glues it all together. You know, I'm smashing it there, and it sounds real. You know, probably wouldn't do as much as that, but just listen to how glued together it all feels, and it's compressing it all together. I'm listening to the bump, I'm listening to the bottom of the kick. I'm not quite sure whether I like it or not. I like it there. You've got to mess around, and then you can open this up, and if it's not bright enough, you can mess around with all this kind of stuff. So you've got the high frequency driver, which I think this is like before it goes into the tape. So you can use this as an EQ as well, and it's just, I think it just sounds really good. And then you've got the EQ for the sync, and then you've got the full EQ. I think that's after. And then you've got the noise, which you can add, which I've got turned off here. So like the old machines had loads of noise. Auto calibrate. So this calibrates to the tape, or is it the IPS that you use? But I just use my ears, mess around with it, and see what's best for me. And I want you to listen to the glue of the track now. It's done something to the top end. It's like saturating the top end. I can hear that, and it's compressing it a little, the whole thing a little bit. But because it's on 30, the bottom end of the kick's really coming through as well. And I really like what that has done. And obviously, I've boosted the driver. I've boosted the top end a little bit, maybe a bit too much. I'll have to A/B it. But I really like what that's done to it. Now, if we go back, there's just not as much life. They just sound too clean and too nice. I actually prefer that. A bit more subtle, but I like it. So what I've done is I've added the lo-fi-ness in there, but that's taken away the top end. But then when I've added it back in with the Studer, it's added something that sounds really, really good. The Ampex tape, one of them is really good. I would suggest, guys, if you've not got a tape machine, getting one. There's lots of good ones. I think the J37 from Waves is really good. In fact, I bought that, but I've never used it, so let's have a listen to it. It's the compression you get from it. I just love how it glues it all together. So let's try this one and see what this sounds like. I've never used this actually. Just push it. These always sound better, a bit more in the red. Now you got to remember with tape, you are taking away from the you can take away from the transients. So when you're turning it on and off, always listen to the transient of the kick, the transient of the snares and the hats. Okay, how do I use this one? Oh, in and out. See, that's very subtle, but I like what it's doing. Listen to the top of the snare and the clap. Listen to the kick. What's it doing to the kick? It's adding a bit more body to the kick. They've all got different characters. We might have overcooked the Studer, to be quite honest with you. But yeah, that's one way to make your drums kind of sizzle a bit more and get that lo-fi-ness. But everything is about choosing the right sample. Guys, I can't thank you enough for joining me today. Any questions for me? I've just been demonstrating about making drums a bit more lo-fi. Did that help you? I think there's a big problem with really clean drums nowadays, and I think some of these plugins can really, really help. Aaron asks, would I use any of these plugins, only add these to drums or also in the mastering chain? Try it and see. Try it and see. I mean, I quite often use tape on the master. I like how it glues it together. Sometimes that bump it creates at the bottom end can kind of take away from the sorry about the dog in the back. The transients of the kick and the bass. So you've always got to be mindful, and that's why I do the mindset for mixing course, because we want you to tune into each individual item. When you add something, especially to do like what's it doing? Okay, what's important? The transient and the kick, is that affecting that? No, it's not. Is it affecting the bottom of the kick? Yeah, it's adding a bit of a bump there. Okay, how's that bump affecting the bass? Actually working together. Let's have a listen to it here. Actually, with the bass in, that J37's beautiful. Like, it brings the top end of the bass out, but the kick's still there. I did a session today with somebody, and it was a great session. And what I said to him was this: if you see me putting this on drums, don't think, oh, I should put that on drums, right? Or if you know you use an LA2 on bass, don't use the LA2A on bass just because of that. Learn, right, what a compressor does. Learn what saturation does. Yeah? 1 second. Think about these things. Sorry, the dog's having a fucking Barney. Learn each one. Listen to what it sounds like. So do you remember going back before to this? To the RX 950. Turn the knobs. You've got 4 knobs. See when you push them to the extreme what they do, right? So this one pushes it in and creates a bit more of what you're looking for. This one kind of messes around with the width a little bit, but also the tonality of the top end. And they've got the filter, which is obviously a filter, which sounds really good, bit crushed, and then the output just to level match. So yeah, so that's that. Okay, if it's an email problem, just email jasonhurd@me.com. That's my personal one. So put them on. Okay, what does a tape machine do? Okay, well, it adds a bit of a bump, it adds a bit of glue, it compresses it somehow. I know it takes away transients, but I'll look at that. But does it sound better? Level match it on off. A lot of tape on master bus. Sometimes I do it, sometimes I don't. Depends on the track. Like I said, adding saturation to a track can take away from the punch of it sometimes. Any other questions? Yeah, IK multimedia tips. I haven't got them. I mean, I just love the UAD, and I know all these. And now I've just listened to the Abbey Road. I'll be listening to that. But any plugin you've got, learn it. Learn it inside out. There's not a lot of knobs on these things, and you have to just say, okay, what does that do? By understanding frequency recognition and character recognition. And it's as simple as that, really. And then, like, put it on the group. Do I like it? Do I not like it? I know whilst you're learning, you're like, well, is it good? I think it's good, and I don't think it's good. And then you've got to learn. But that's why we have metric A/B, so we A/B it. It's not the same kind of track, but let's have a listen. I'd say that's good. I'd say that's really good now. Yeah? I mean, they've got a distorted kick, so we'll change the kick if that's what we were going for, but we're not. We're going for what I like. Enjoyed it. Please tell all your mates, get everyone to come on board. this is invaluable information that I can give you. Just need to keep asking me questions, and please come with some more questions tomorrow. Aaron, can you sign the form, the permission form? And tomorrow we'll do a mix down guide, which are always really good. Yeah, so have a great evening, and thank you for joining. I really appreciate it. And please, if there's any way I can improve, let me know. My job is to critique my clients, you know, and I can take it as well. And if you're listening, there's a few more people listening. They're not on the chat. You know, add in. Don't worry about critiquing me, because if it's constructive and I think you're right, or I can put the argument up against it, I will do. Okay, guys, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate your time. And if you want to sign up for a one-to-one mentorship, send me a DM or email that email there. Take care, everyone.